Hello again, I'm Greg Levine, and this is the party line for June 10th, 2011. And much as the administration is using the current chaos in Yemen to provide cover for their ramping up of their push-button war on terror, or specifically the drone and airstrikes against suspected affiliates of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, much like they're doing that, using that chaos, they're using the chaos inside the beltway caused by Anthony Weiner's underpants and that which lies beneath to provide cover for their push-button war on Social Security. I'm sorry. That's not true. Because they'd probably be waging a push-button war on Social Security anyway. You see, earlier in the week, during a joint appearance with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Barack Obama floated the idea of extending the payroll tax cuts that he agreed to with the Republican House back in December, extending those for another year, into 2012, in an attempt to somehow couple something stimulative in any agreement on so-called deficit reduction. Liberal economists in Washington and the administration sort of jumped on board this week, adding that perhaps they would also provide an employer-side payroll tax credit. So the employees currently getting a 2% tax credit, employers might also get some unknown number tax credit. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be around that same 2%, and we'll extend the employee tax credit another year. Again, in an attempt to get something stimulative into any agreement that may be cut with, again, House Republicans most likely, and whatever Senate's gang of whatever size. Because the administration realizes that if we just do deficit reduction with the economy as is, with the recovery stalled, with the jobs numbers this bad, the next year is going to be a really hard slog, just for, you know, the administration, but heading into an election year, particularly terrifying, I think, for them. So an attempt to get something out there. The problem is that that money, that payroll tax money, goes to Social Security. Now, the administration has made some assurances that they will take any money that they've cost the Social Security Trust Fund with these tax cuts and reimburse it from general revenue. But honestly, bear with me a second, think about that. Apparently, the reason we are not going after a full-blown stimulus plan right now, doing things like, you know, paying people to do stuff, the kind of stimulus that we know works, it gives you more than $1 in return for $1 spent. That sort of stuff is apparently dead on arrival because the administration says it just doesn't have the ability to get that sort of thing through Congress, past the Republican House. But somehow we are going to get through this plan to take general revenue funds and put them back into the Social Security Trust Fund. That somehow they have the political capital for. Let's talk about exactly what kind of money we're looking at here, because the first year payroll tax, employee side payroll tax cut basically cost the trust fund about $112 billion. If we extend that another year, that's another $112 billion. So now we're looking at like $250 billion taken from the Social Security Trust Fund that's supposed to come out of general revenue to reimburse it at some point. Add an employer side tax credit, which, okay, let's say it's another 2%, and you're looking at, you know, roughly $425 billion. A billion here, a billion there, as Everett Dirksen said, and you are eventually talking real money. And this is real money, and it's real money that I can't see the administration getting put back into the Social Security Trust Fund anytime soon, honestly, if they can't get anything else, or don't have the political will to get anything else past Congress. And if they did, if by some magic they did, imagine what they would have to cut in the general budget to make up for that $400 billion that they were going to put back into Social Security. It's a paradigm they've set up by playing on the deficit hysteria court, and it's something that honestly I don't see panning out very well, because we all know what's going to happen, which is that it's going to be very hard to ever get the payroll taxes back up once you've cut them and once you've let the cuts go on for a couple of years. You saw the incredible shrinking will of the administration when it came to drawing a line in the sand about the Bush tax cuts in December. I expect, and this one actually, the payroll tax credit for its puny size and all, still does actually direct a little bit of money to some of the people who actually need it. I mean, there are a lot of people, since it's across the board, who don't need that 2%, but there are people who actually will benefit from that 2%. So imagine what it's going to take to put that back now that we've made that cut. And in the meantime, we are more quickly we're spending more of the Social Security Trust Fund, or we're not replenishing the Social Security Trust Fund, is what I should say, as quickly, because we've taken this money out of the system. And so what do we have to do then? We've created an accelerated crisis. No longer can we say that, Social Security Trust Fund is secure through 2045 or wherever that number is pegged this week. Because we've taken this much, we've accelerated that process by 10 years or something. I'm not citing specific numbers here, but I'm giving you an example, right? So suddenly it becomes much more plausible, quotes, that we have to adjust, fix, repair Social Security in order to save it. We have to, means test or change the retirement age because the revenues are drying up faster, and they're drying up faster because the administration supposedly did this very noble, stimulative tax cut for people who need it in a recession. It looks confusing. It really isn't. It's actually kind of a crisis. I mean, the fact is, we know that these job credits, the job credit sort of stuff, the employer side tax cuts, don't really work very well. Why? Because they're in the stimulus package and they're in the December 2010 agreement, and jobs numbers are not getting better. In fact, got a tad worse last month. We know they don't work there, and we know that the stimulative effect of the payroll tax cut was minor, but we do know what taking $400 billion out of the Social Security Trust Fund looks like. And that is something that's very real and very much happening right before your eyes. And they may not talk about it in terms of accelerating the decline of Social Security, creating a shock to its system that requires everybody of serious beltway mind to focus on changing the payout platforms. But that's what they're doing. And chaos or no, it's real. And just because it's unfolding slowly and perhaps a little stealthily doesn't mean it isn't an attack on Social Security from a Democratic administration. And that's the party line.